Imagine stepping into a painting. Sun-drenched rolling hills, ancient stone villages peeking through cypress trees, and in your hand, a glass of vibrant ruby red wine.
Ah.
That right there is the essence of Chianti, a name so deeply woven into the fabric of Italy itself.
It really is the quintessential Tuscan dream, isn't it? I mean, a place that somehow actually lives up to its idyllic reputation.
Absolutely. And in this deep dive, we're going on, well, an incredible journey. We're going to explore Chianti, its iconic grape, Sangiovese, and the fascinating, sometimes, let's say, nuanced world of Italian wine classifications.
Yeah, our mission today is really to give you a shortcut to being, properly well-informed about Chianti. We'll unpack its history, delve into its unique landscape, truly understand its star grape, and sort of demystify those classifications. The goal is to uncover some surprising facts and help you understand what makes these wines in this whole region so incredibly special.
So we'll connect all these dots to paint the broader, beautiful picture of Italian winemaking.
Sounds like quite a ride. Let's unpack this. Okay, so at the very heart of this story is Chianti as a region. It's nestled right in the core of Tuscany, famously situated between those historic rival cities, Florence and Siena.
Right.
When you picture Tuscany, those rolling hills, tall cypress trees, endless vineyards, olive groves, you're basically picturing Chianti.
And what's truly fascinating here is how that landscape isn't just, picturesque. It's deeply interwoven with its history. The region's identity was really forged in centuries-old rivalries between Florence and Siena.
You can still see that today, right?
Oh, absolutely. You see it reflected in its medieval castles and these charming ancient villages.
Yeah.
It's a land where history, geography, and wine are just inseparable.
And the winemaking here isn't some recent thing. It's truly ancient. We're talking viticulture tracing all the way back to Etruscan and Roman time.
Way back, with noble families further influencing its development throughout the Middle Ages. But it was really the 19th century that gave Chianti its modern identity, wasn't it?
Indeed. That was a pivotal period. In 1872, there was this forward-thinking statesman and entomologist named Bettino Ricasoli. He laid down his classic formula for Chianti.
The Ricasoli formula.
Right, exactly. And this was revolutionary because it established Sangiovese as the primary grape, setting a clear standard for quality and style. It was complemented by grapes like Canaiolo and, surprisingly, even a white grape, Malvasia Bianca.
A white grape. In Chianti.
Yeah, that was part of the blend until, well, about the mid-20th century. He essentially gave Chianti its blueprint.
So Ricasoli defined the wine. And then to safeguard that tradition and quality, the Consorzio Vino Chianti Classico was founded in 1924. This organization seems absolutely key.
Oh, it is. It's key in promoting and maintaining the high standards and heritage of Chianti Classico. It's got quite a legacy.
And if you've ever picked up a bottle of Chianti Classico, you've probably seen their seal, the Black Rooster, the Gallo Nero.
The Gallo Nero, yes. And it's not just a pretty logo. It's steeped in this fantastic legend. The story goes, back in the medieval rivalry between Florence and Siena,
Okay.
they decided to define their border by having two knights ride out at dawn from their respective cities. The rooster that crowed first would determine the starting signal.
A race decided by chickens.
Sort of. The Sienese chose this well-fed, pampered white rooster, thinking it would crow reliably. But the Florentines picked a starving black rooster and kept it cooped up in the dark.
Ah,
Clever. Very. Because it was so hungry and agitated, it apparently crowed well before actual dawn. This gave the Florentine knight a massive head start, securing most of the Chianti territory for Florence.
Wow, what a story.
So the black rooster became this powerful symbol, a mark of quality and authenticity, assuring you, the consumer, that the wine meets the rigorous standards set by the Consorzio. It's their guarantee of excellence rooted right in history.
Amazing. Okay, so to truly understand why these wines are so special, we need to go beyond symbols and dive deep into the very ground they come from. Expert, what do winemakers call that?
Ah, the soul of the land, or as we say, terroir. This is where Chianti's magic truly begins. The region boasts a quintessential Mediterranean climate. That means hot, dry summers and pretty mild winters.
Right, that abundance of sun sounds fantastic for grape ripening.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the Mediterranean Sea's influence.
Yes, that's crucial. It moderates temperatures, preventing extremes, and adds just enough humidity. It creates this ideal balance. It's almost like nature's own climate control system.
Okay, interesting.
And then there's altitude, which is a real game changer in Chianti. Vineyards planted at higher elevations get cooler temperatures overall.
Cooler, even with the hot summers.
Yes, especially at night. You get a greater temperature swing between warm days and cool nights. That's called diurnal variation. Plus, they often get more direct sun exposure.
And these elements are key, I assume, for
Right?
developing
Huh?
concentrated flavors.
Exactly. Concentrated aromas, that vibrant, balanced acidity we love in Chianti, and more elegant tannins. It's truly a gift from the land.
And the earth itself, the soil.
Also plays a huge part. Chianti has diverse soils, but predominantly you find clay and limestone, often called galestro or alberise. They're rich in minerals.
And that translates into the wine how?
It directly imparts structure, complexity, and often that distinctive mineral character you can taste. You also find pockets of sandstone and schist, which add to this incredible microclimate diversity. It means even vineyards just a few miles apart can produce noticeably different wines.
That diversity extends into Chianti's distinct subregions too, right? We've heard about the heartland, Chianti Classico, but this region is like a kaleidoscope of microclimates. Can you give us an example, maybe one or two lesser-known subregions that show off this diverse personality?
Absolutely. While Chianti Classico is definitely the anchor, known for its structure and aging potential, largely thanks to those limestone-rich soils, consider Chianti Rufina. It's northeast of Florence. Its cooler climate and clay soils tend to yield incredibly elegant, aromatic wines. Think beautiful floral and spicy notes.
Okay, elegant and aromatic. What about something different?
Well, contrast that with, say, Colli Senesi, down south of Siena. The soils there are often sandier, stonier. This tends to push the wines towards being more full-bodied, more tannic, with riper dark fruit and spice notes.
So warmer area, different soil, bigger wine.
Basically, yes. It's this subtle interplay of these micro-terroirs that means there's truly a Chianti style for almost every palate, all depending on exactly where it's grown.
It's fascinating how these subtle differences create such varied expressions all within the same overall region. And it's not just the larger subregions. You're saying even tiny factors matter.
Oh, absolutely. Things like the precise altitude, which way the vineyard slope faces for sun exposure, even being close to a forest or a small lake, they all create these subtle microclimates.
And these tiny variations influence ripening.
Profoundly. They influence the speed of grape ripening and the specific development of aromas and flavors. It's really about these hyper-local conditions shaping the final character of the wine.
Okay, let's talk about the undisputed star of this show then. Sangiovese.
Yeah.
This is Italy's most emblematic red grape.
It really is. It's got a relatively thin skin, which might surprise people given the structure, but it produces wines with intense color, quite firm tannins, and that characteristic high acidity.
And the aromas and flavors. What should people look for?
Well, what's truly remarkable is its complex and varied aromatic profile. You'll often find notes of bright red fruits, think cherry, plum, maybe raspberry, then beautiful floral notes like violet or iris. Spices, too, like black pepper or clove.
Counts complex.
It is. And often you get earthy or herbaceous touches, maybe a hint of tomato leaf, which is quite classic. And with age, Sangiovese develops beautifully, showing that distinctive sort of bitter almond finish sometimes, along with leather, tobacco. It's a grape with incredible aging potential.
Now, what I find really interesting is that there's diversity even within Sangiovese itself.
Yeah.
You mentioned different clones and biotypes, like Sangiovese di Broglio versus Morlino.
Yes, exactly. That's a key factor. Think of them as different personalities within the same family. Sangiovese di Broglio, historically linked to Ricasoli's estate, tends to yield more full-bodied, structured, age-worthy wines.
Okay.
Whereas Morellino, which is the local name for Sangiovese down in the Maremma coastal area but also found elsewhere, often produces lighter, maybe fruitier styles.
So how does this internal diversity contribute to Chianti's richness?
Well, each biotype expresses Sangiovese's core characteristics, but with subtle variations maybe in tannin structure, acidity level, or aroma intensity. Winemakers can use this, sometimes blending different clones to create a more complex, layered final wine. This genetic diversity within the grape itself contributes so much to the richness and complexity you find in the bottle.
Right. And while Sangiovese is definitely the protagonist, requiring, as you said, a minimum of 70% for Chianti DOCG and 80% for Chianti Classico DOCG,
Right.
there's supporting cast, right. Other grapes are allowed in limited amounts.
Absolutely. They play important roles. For red grapes, you might find Caniolo Nero, which traditionally adds some lovely floral notes and a bit of softness to Sangiovese's structure. Or Colorino, which, as the name suggests, contributes vibrant color and some extra structure.
Okay, those are the traditional ones. What about others?
Well, sometimes, especially in more modern styles or certain classifications, international varieties like Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot are used. They can add complexity, different tannin profiles, maybe help with aging potential.
And the white grapes you mentioned earlier, Malvasia and Trebbiano?
Historically, yes, they were included, often to add freshness and lightness, especially to wines meant for earlier drinking. But modern Chianti, particularly Chianti Classico, often minimizes or even excludes them now. The trend is towards pure Sangiovese or blends with other red grapes only.
This really brings us to Sangiovese's incredible versatility then. It can produce such a wide range of styles.
It really can. From those classic, elegant, complex wines like Chianti Classico or even Brunello di Montalcino, which is 100% Sangiovese from a specific clone. Wines known for structure and serious aging potential,
Right.
all the way to more modern, perhaps more fruit-forward, accessible styles. Winemaking techniques play a role here too, things like using French oak barrels versus traditional large casks, or precise temperature control during fermentation. Sangiovese adapts beautifully to both traditional and contemporary approaches.
So we painted a picture of the land, this incredible terroir, and its star grape, Sangiovese.
Right.
But how do winemakers actually transform those grapes into that ruby red magic in the bottle?
Ah, good question.
And maybe just as importantly for us enjoying it, how do we navigate those often confusing Italian wine labels to make sure we're getting what we expect?
Right. That's where the art of winemaking meets the sometimes challenging but crucial classification system. Cultivating excellence in Chianti really starts in the vineyard. It's meticulous work.
Like pruning.
Exactly. Producers use very specific pruning techniques. Systems like cordon sperandato or guillot are common to control the vine's growth, manage the yield, and ensure each grape cluster gets the perfect amount of sun and air. That's crucial for concentrated flavors and healthy fruit. They even do green pruning during the summer, removing excess leaves or bunches.
And I imagine disease control is important in that climate.
Very much so. Given Tuscany's sometimes warm and humid conditions, controlling fungal diseases like mildew is essential. Producers really focus on preventative methods, like good canopy management from pruning, choosing disease-resistant clones where possible, and increasingly using sustainable practices, organic, biodynamic farming, encouraging natural predators.
Okay, so healthy grapes come first, then the winemaking itself.
Right. The art of winemaking involves a blend of traditional and often modern methods, too. The enologist, the winemaker, plays such a crucial role here, interpreting the vintage, the specific vineyard site, to best express that unique terroir.
And then there's the aging, particularly the role of oak barrels. That seems key for Chianti.
It is. Traditionally, large Slavonian oak barrels called botti were favored. These are huge casks holding thousands of liters.
Why so big?
The large size means less wine surface area is in contact with the wood compared to small barrels, so they allow for very slow, gentle breathing or micro-oxygenation of the wine, which helps soften tannins and integrate flavors over time, but they impart very subtle wood notes, maybe hints of sweet spice, vanilla, almond, without overpowering the Sangiovese fruit.
But that's changing somewhat, isn't it? More French oak?
Yes, increasingly, especially maybe for Reserva or Gran Selezione wines, or in more modern interpretations, winemakers might use smaller French oak barrels, brick or tonneau. These can add more assertive flavors, things like cedar, tobacco, even hints of coffee or chocolate, depending on how intensely the inside of the barrel was toasted when it was made.
So it's a stylistic choice.
Absolutely. It's a delicate balance for the winemaker, using oak to enhance complexity and structure, but not mask the essential character of the Sangiovese and its origin.
Right. Now let's try and decode those Italian wine labels. You mentioned the pyramid of quality. This hierarchy has evolved a bit, especially after 2009 with the EU bringing in DOP and IGP category.
Exactly. It can seem a bit confusing, but let's break it down. At the very top, you have DOP, which stands for Denominazione di Origine Protetta, or Protected Designation of Origin in English.
Okay, DOP.
This is the highest tier in the EU system, and it encompasses wines that were previously classified under the Italian systems as DOCG and DOC. The key thing about DOP is that 100% of the grapes must be produced, processed, and prepared within the stated geographical area.
So it's all about place.
Precisely. And their quality and characteristics must be essentially or exclusively due to that specific geographical environment, the terroir we talked about. Think of it as the strongest stamp of authenticity and origin, guaranteeing quality linked intrinsically to a specific place.
Okay. And within DOP, you mentioned DOCG is the highest Italian quality tier.
Correct. DOCG stands for Denominazione di Origine Controllata e Garantita. The garantita, guaranteed, is the key part. These are reserved for wines already recognized as DOC for at least 10 years that are deemed to be of particular historical significance and qualitative value.
So it's like DOC plus extra guarantees?
Kind of. They undergo much more rigorous chemical, physical, and sensory analyses, not just at the production stage, but also right before bottling. There's a tasting panel involved. It's a truly strict standard designed to guarantee the absolute highest quality and adherence to traditional methods for Italy's most prestigious wines. Labels have a numbered government seal, too.
Wow, okay. And you mentioned Vino Nobile di Montepulciano was the first DOCG.
That's right. A fun fact, it received DOCG status way back in 1980, underscoring its historical importance and prestige in the Italian wine landscape. Brunello di Montalcino followed very shortly after.
Okay, below DOCG you have DOC.
Yes, DOC, Denominazione di Origine Controllata. These are wines produced in specific, delimited geographical areas following quite precise rules about grape varieties, yields, winemaking techniques, and final chemical and sensory characteristics. It's still a very reliable indicator of regional style and quality, covering many excellent Italian wines.
Got it. And then there's IGP, or IGT.
Right. IGP is the EU term, Protected Geographical Indication. In Italy, this often corresponds to the traditional IGT category, Indicazione Geografica Tipica. For these wines, at least 85% of the grapes must come from the specified geographical origin, and they have to meet certain broader quality and characteristic parameters.
So a bit more flexible than DOC or DOCG.
Exactly. This category offers winemakers more flexibility, allowing for innovation, maybe with non-traditional grape varieties or winemaking styles that don't fit the stricter DOC-DOCG rules. The famous super Tuscans often fall into this category, for example.
Ah, right. And you mentioned Toscana IGT is a big one.
Huge. It's a really strong brand, claimed by something like 4,000 producers annually. It covers a wide range of styles and quality levels, often including very high-quality, innovative wines. And as you mentioned, a recent update, approved just in December 2024, now even allows them to label Spumante sparkling wine and Rosso Frizzante fizzy red under the Toscana IGT banner.
Interesting. Broadening the scope.
Definitely. It strengthens the regional identity and allows producers even more room to innovate within Tuscany.
Okay, so that's the general Italian system. How does Chianti fit specifically within this pyramid? We have the basic Chianti DOCG.
Correct. Chianti DOCG is the broadest category, covering a large area across Tuscany. It requires at least 70% Sangiovese and a minimum of just 3 months of aging before release, though some might see partial oak.
And what's it like?
Typically, these wines have a bright ruby color with straightforward notes of red fruits like cherry, maybe some floral hints, herbaceous touches, and spices. They're usually approachable, medium-bodied, and meant for relatively early drinking. Good everyday Chianti.
Then Chianti Classico DOCG. This is the historic heartland.
Exactly. Produced only within that specific historical subregion between Florence and Siena we discussed earlier. It has stricter rules, minimum 80% Sangiovese, and at least 12 months of aging before release. Again, often with some oak involved.
And the difference in the wine.
You generally find more intensity and complexity. An intense ruby color, more complex aromas, red fruit, sure, but also often violet, more pronounced spices, maybe those earthy or mineral notes starting to show. They have firmer tannins, elegant acidity, and definitely better aging potential than the basic Chianti DOCG. This is where you see the Black Rooster seal.
Okay, stepping up. Then there's Chianti Classico Reserva DOCG.
Right. This takes it another step further. It applies to Chianti Classico wines that have been aged for a minimum of 24 months total, and importantly, at least 3 of those months must be spent aging in the bottle before release.
So double the aging time. What does that do?
It provides greater complexity, structure, and integration. You start getting more mature fruit notes, maybe dried cherry, along with developing secondary and tertiary notes like spice box, leather, tobacco. These are built for patience and can age beautifully.
And the pinnacle. Chianti Classico Gran Selezione DOCG. That's relatively new, isn't it?
It is, introduced in 2014. This is the absolute top of the Chianti Classico pyramid. There are several key requirements. First, the grapes must come only from the winery's own estate vineyards, not purchased grapes.
Ah, estate grown only.
Yes, and there's usually a strict selection process in the vineyard, often focusing on single vineyard plots with lower permitted yields. Then it requires even longer aging, a minimum of 30 months total, again with at least 3 months in the bottle.
So these are the best of the best.
Essentially, yes. These are intended to be complex, elegant, and exceptionally age-worthy wines. You expect intense, mature red fruit aromas, layers of spice, leather tobacco, distinct mineral notes, concentration, and a long finish. They really represent the finest expression of a particular estate's Chianti Classico terroir.
Wow. And you also mentioned a Vini Superiore category within Chianti DOCG.
Yes, that's another layer, specifically for the broader Chianti DOCG, not Classico. If a Chianti DOCG label says superiore, it indicates it met slightly more rigorous production standards than the base level, usually meaning lower grape yields allowed per hectare in the vineyard and a slightly higher minimum alcohol content. It basically signals a wine of potentially greater concentration and quality within the standard Chianti DOCG rules.
Good to know. And beyond all these reds, Chianti also makes other style.
It does. You can find Chianti Rosato, which is a rosé typically made from Sangiovese, usually light, crisp, and refreshing. And then there's the very traditional Vinsanto del Chianti DOC.
Ah, Vinsanto, the holy wine.
Exactly. That's a sweet dessert wine typically made from dried white grapes like Trebbiano and Malvasia. The grapes are dried for months to concentrate sugars, then fermented and aged slowly, often in small barrels for years. It's a unique, nutty, complex wine. So yes, there's quite a world of flavor to explore, even beyond the classic red Chianti.
Okay, let's move on to the sensory experience itself and, crucially, how to pair these incredible wines. When you describe Chianti, what are the key things someone should look for?
Well, you're really talking about a symphony for the senses. Aromatically, typically you'll find those bright red fruits we mentioned. Cherry is almost always there, often plum, raspberry. Then you get these lovely floral nuances like violet or iris, especially in Classico. Spices are common too, black pepper, maybe clove. And often some kind of herbaceous note, maybe rosemary, basil, or that characteristic tomato leaf. And as the wine ages, those earthy notes, leather, tobacco, maybe some balsamic hints, really start to emerge and add complexity.
And on the palate, what defines Chianti?
I'd say two things really stand out. That vibrant acidity, which gives it incredible freshness and makes it so food-friendly, and the tannins. Sangiovese tannins are definitely present, sometimes quite firm when young, but they tend to soften and integrate beautifully with age.
So fruit, acid, tannin.
Exactly. The red fruit flavors are typically balanced by those spices and herbaceous characters, creating a complex and really enjoyable tasting experience. It shouldn't be overly heavy, but it should have substance.
And the structure and body, does that vary a lot?
It does. It can range from lighter, more youthful wines, like a basic Chianti DOCG that's perfect for everyday enjoyment, all the way up to full-bodied, deeply complex wines like a Gran Selezione that has serious structure and aging potential. The color also reflects this, ranging from a bright ruby in younger wines to a deeper garnet, maybe with orange hints as they mature.
Now, food pairing. You said the acidity makes it versatile.
Oh, incredibly so. That's one of Chianti's greatest strengths.
Right.
That vibrant acidity cuts through richness, cleanses the palate, and the balanced tannins work really well with proteins and fats. It makes it just a perfect match for so much Italian and specifically Tuscan cuisine. It doesn't just sit alongside the food. It really complements it, enhances the flavors.
Now, what are some classic pairings? Pasta with tomato sauce seems like a no-brainer.
Absolutely. Chianti's acidity perfectly balances the acidity and sweetness of the tomato. A simple spaghetti au ragu, a meat sauce, is just transformed by a good classic Chianti. For a richer ragu, like in lasagna alla bolognese, maybe step up to a Chianti Classico or even a Reserva, the structure handles it beautifully.
What about other iconic Tuscan dishes?
Oh, it shines there. Think about ribollita, that hearty vegetable and bread soup, or papa al pomodoro, the rustic tomato and bread soup. Chianti is fantastic with those. Also, panzanella, that summer bread and tomato salad, or even simple bruschetta with fresh tomato, basil, and olive oil, perfect matches.
And red meats. Bistecca alla Fiorentina comes to mind.
The ultimate. Yes, Sangiovese's tannins absolutely love the succulence and fat of a good steak. While a Brunello di Montalcino is often the go-to for a serious bistecca, a good Chianti Classico Reserva or Gran Selezione can also be phenomenal. Roasted lamb with aromatic herbs like rosemary, fantastic with a complex Chianti, maybe even a Vino Nobile di Montepulciano.
Okay, meats, pasta. What about cheese?
Aged cheeses are another superb match. The complex, savory, sometimes nutty notes of aged Sangiovese pair beautifully with hard, aged cheeses. Think Parmigiano Reggiano maybe with a Brunello Reserva if you're splurging, or the local Pecorino Toscano, which is wonderful with the Chianti Classico Reserva.
Delicious. Are there any more maybe creative pairings beyond Italian food?
Definitely don't be afraid to experiment. Chianti's earthy notes, especially in more mature examples, can really sing with mushrooms, think mushroom risotto or grilled portobellos. And surprisingly, its acidity can actually work well with certain types of dark chocolate, balancing the sweetness and bitterness. It's much more versatile than people sometimes think.
Great tips. And quickly, any advice for actually serving and tasting Chianti? Temperature? Glassware?
Good points.
Yeah.
Generally serve Chianti slightly cooler than you might think for a red, maybe around 16, 18 degrees Celsius, which is about 60, 64 Fahrenheit. Too warm and the alcohol can seem harsh. Too cold and the aromas get muted. Use proper red wine glasses. Something with a decent-sized bowl allows you to swirl and capture those complex aromas. And for older, more complex wines, especially Reserva or Gran Selezione, consider decanting.
Why decant?
Two reasons mainly. One is to separate the wine from any sediment that might have formed during aging. The other is to gently expose the wine to oxygen, which can help it open up, softening the tannins and allowing the full range of aromas and flavors to express themselves, especially if it's been cooped up in the bottle for years.
Makes sense. Okay, so beyond the bottle itself, Chianti is also a massive draw for tourism, right? Tourism.
Oh, absolutely. It's a prime destination. It's a true feast for the senses. You have those stunning landscapes we talked about, these incredibly charming medieval villages like Grieve in Chianti, Castellina Rada, Gaiola. The list goes on. And of course, the irresistible gastronomy ties it all together.
What kinds of experiences can people expect if they visit?
There's so much. You can drive the scenic Chianti Classico wine route, the Via Chiantigiana, which winds right through the heart of the region, past vineyards and historic wineries. Think places like Castello di Broglio, the Ricasoli Estate, or the stunning Antinori nel Chianti Classico winery.
Winery visits and tastings, I assume.
Definitely. Most wineries offer tastings and guided tours where you can learn about the production process, see the vineyards, explore the cellars. It's a fantastic way to connect with the wine and the people who make it.
What else?
Well, for hands-on experience, you can often find cooking classes focused on Tuscan cuisine. And for the active traveler, cycling and hiking through the picturesque countryside are incredibly popular. The views are just breathtaking.
I can only imagine. Are there specific times or events that are good to know about?
There are special events throughout the year. Many towns have local wine festivals. A big one is a Festa del Vino in Pensano in Chianti, usually in September. And then there's Cantina Aperte, or open cellars, typically held in late May, where numerous wineries across Italy, including many in Chianti, open their doors to the public for special tastings and events. It's a really vibrant calendar.
And this enotourism, it's not just fun for visitors. It has a real impact locally, right?
A significant economic impact, yes. It drives the local economy, creates jobs not just in wineries, but in hospitality, restaurants, shops. It helps diversify income for local communities, especially in rural areas. And importantly, the revenue generated often helps support the preservation of the region's cultural heritage, those castles, villages, and its unique environmental landscape. It's really a virtuous cycle when done well.
That's great to hear. However, Chianti winemaking, like everywhere, must face challenges. Climate change has to be a major one.
It is, absolutely. It's a major ongoing challenge. They're seeing rising average temperatures, more irregular rainfall patterns, sometimes intense downpours, sometimes prolonged drought, and more frequent extreme weather events like hail.
And how does that affect the wine?
It can lead to things like grapes ripening too early, potentially before the flavors and tannins have fully developed. You might see lower natural acidity in the grapes, which is crucial for Chianti's freshness, and potentially higher alcohol levels due to more sugar accumulation. It requires constant vigilance and adaptation from the producers.
A real balancing act. And what about market pressures?
There's always market competition, of course. The global wine market is crowded. Chianti needs to constantly adapt to evolving consumer demands and trends, maintain its quality perception, and communicate its unique identity effectively.
So, faced with these challenges, there must be a strong push towards a sustainable future. What does that look like on the ground in Chianti?
It looks like a lot of things, actually. There's a big focus on sustainable vineyard practices, things like careful soil management to improve water retention and health, optimizing water use efficiency, promoting biodiversity in and around the vineyards to create a more resilient ecosystem, and increasingly integrating renewable energy sources at the wineries.
Are they looking at different vineyard sites or grapes too?
Yes, there's ongoing research and innovation. Some producers are exploring planting vineyards at even higher altitudes where it's naturally cooler. Others are researching and experimenting with different Sangiovese clones, or even other grape varieties that might be more resistant to heat and drought while still fitting the Chianti profile. It's really an ongoing evolution driven by both a deep respect for tradition and a clear-eyed view of the future.
It sounds like a region committed to preserving its legacy while adapting to change.
I think that's fair to say.
Well, you've just taken us on a fantastic deep dive into Chianti. We've explored its deep historical roots, the unique expression of its terroir, and the unwavering spirit of the Sangiovese grape. It's truly more than just wine, isn't it? It feels like a living story, shaped by nature and human passion across centuries.
Beautifully put. And as we consider that resilience, that adaptability of Sangiovese and its dedicated guardians in Chianti, what does its continuing evolution tell us? Embracing new techniques, facing down climate challenges, even expanding into things like sparkling wines now under the Toscana IGT. What does that say about the future of tradition itself in our rapidly changing world?
That's a great question. How much can a legacy like Chianti evolve before it perhaps transforms into something entirely new? Something for all of us to think about next time we open a bottle.